The mother describes these water pistols, as I think we used to call them. One was plastic, pink and white stripe, and one was plastic, a sort of turquoise or baby blue and white stripe. So when she describes them, it seems almost impossible that the police seriously could have thought that this 13-year-old was in a genuine gunfight with a real weapon. But maybe you're going to tell me that things move very, very quickly. They would have glimpsed it. They might have thought it was a real gun or something like that.
Yes, police officers, and of course firearms officers, sometimes just have a split second in which to make a decision and to act and decide whether to pull the trigger or not. And likewise, uniformed officers can turn the corner, be confronted with something and have to make a very, very rapid risk assessment in the then and the now and the moment and act as they see fit. But this story is very unfortunate, and I'm not downplaying it. I hope my use of the word unfortunate doesn't offend the family, but it is unfortunate on a number of levels. Of course, how this child was treated for having a water fight, that is particularly unacceptable. And it's also very unfortunate what happened to him. But, and I kind of hang my head in despair a little bit here, because the police, it's now some 3 months after this incident happened, and the police's handling of it, I think, has been very unfortunate.
How have the police handled it?
Pretty poorly. It's 3 months later.
I mean, did they go and apologise? Did they say that they would take this young man, his whole family, on a tour of the police station or prisons or something to make him feel that he was, I don't know, being heard and seen and that they were really very, very sorry? Did they do any of that sort of stuff?
Well, the Detective Chief Superintendent, who's in charge of policing for that part of London, issued the apology, which was made public today.
Right.
So I don't know exactly when that was given to the family. I would sincerely hope sometime before it was made public. But there's a thing in policing that we used to kind of abide by, and that was that if you make a mistake in genuinely good faith, then admit that mistake immediately, as soon as you possibly can, and it will make things better quicker.
Yeah.
To kind of hide away from that. We did it most notably on one occasion when we smashed the wrong door in.
Oh, God.
And woke people up in the very early hours of the morning, and it was the wrong house. And of course, we were mortified by that, and we made profuse apologies, and we got the door rectified as soon as we can, and that didn't go anywhere. There was no formal complaint made. The people understood. We explained how the mistake had happened through the wrong address, and of course they saw and accepted that. So when you make a mistake in policing, and every police officer will, admit it as soon as you can, and you speed up the process and then you start to make things better.
I mean, it sounds as if this scenario is exacerbated enormously by the fact that this is a black young boy, a 13-year-old black boy, and his mum is saying, you wouldn't have done this, you wouldn't have come to those conclusions, you wouldn't have made that assumption, you wouldn't have, you know, pushed him off his bike, you wouldn't have treated him in the way you did had he been a little white boy playing with his younger brother with a plastic striped water pistol. You wouldn't have done that. You saw him, you thought something, you acted on what you thought, you were wrong, and this is racist. It's not just a mistake. It's not just because you were moving very fast. It's not just because you just made the wrong decision. It's because he's black. And that, she says, has broken her. That's the phrase she's used.
And of course, the Met were recently once again branded institutionally racist when Baroness Casey's report came out.
Yeah.
And the Met Commissioner won't use that term. He won't accept that term, which again, one might argue is an institutionally racist thing to do, to not use that term. Was there some kind of confirmation bias in the officer's head because of the colour of the skin of this boy? Well, I'd like to think not. The parents clearly thought, the mother clearly thinks it was. It's 2023. These perceptions need to be shed. The police need to move forward, and they still do have this problem. I guess we probably will never know if that was a factor.
But I'm sure we can't help likening it or linking it in our heads to the story of that young girl who was suspected of having some cannabis about her person at school. In the end, she had none at all. She didn't have any, but she was subject to that examination, that physical, intimate examination without her parents being told, without anybody looking after her or protecting her. In other words, an enormous overreaction to something she hadn't done and wasn't happening, just like having a water pistol fight with your younger brother, which absolutely everyone is allowed to do and enjoy. And in both cases, the child, the youngish child being black, it's very hard not to think this is a particular kind of treatment meted out, isn't it?
And 4 officers are facing a gross misconduct hearing as a result of that search. And based on the facts that we know, it was, of course, almost beyond comprehension that a child would be strip searched in school without an appropriate adult.
I know.
And for what?
I know.
The possession of cannabis. I know so many pragmatic cops who just look the other way and aren't really concerned about small amounts of drugs. Number one, they don't want to get involved in the paperwork. And number two, they don't see it as serious criminality. So that was utterly astonishing and dreadful. And it will be very interesting to see how that discipline hearing pans out.